Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I am Pratibha Day, your host and founder of Chai Together. You are tuning in for your cup of courage, hope, and imagination today. So we use courage on this platform to showcase our stories. We use hope to overcome, and we use imagination to resonate and understand with the stories that are being shared. So I'd like to welcome a new friend, Mr. Shawn Lowry. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain.
I'm glad you're Shawn Lowry and not Mike Lowry because that would be really interesting for the show today.
It
So
would be.
tell us, firstly, how are you feeling?
A little under the weather, but overall, I'm good.
I
I'm
feel
feeling
you. So I just want to say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Please do, drop a hi because I'm wearing my hat for that reason because I got a headache from cold air and I told you that. So
yeah.
tell me about your shirt that you're
Oh, yes. Embrace you. That's one of my merchandise. I've kind of scaled back a little bit because I've been
wearing.
so busy helping the community and things like that. But yeah, basically, I want everyone to embrace who they are, right? With so much, let's be honest, so much fakeness going on in this world, right? Everyone's
Yes.
trying to keep up with the Kardashians, as they say, or they're on social media like, oh man, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of really just embracing what you have,
Mm-hmm.
right, and knowing and understanding that you are you, and that is one of the most powerful things that you have is being you as an individual.
I love that. I love that, Shawn. Let me tell the viewers about you before we continue, because then it would get real deep. And then it's like, wait, who's this man? So, Shawn has had his hands dipped in a variety of different roles and environments as both a friend, father, and leader of young adults and parents for the past 10 years. Owner and founder of ADA, which is a dreamer's ambition, and that's Shawn's brand, it has been his mission to advocate for the youth and train young adults in their transition to childhood to give them all the tools they need, not just to survive, but to succeed in all that they put their mind to. This includes topics like emotional intelligence, spirituality, mindset, finances, and higher education. Hi, Pele. um, his recent endeavors include partnering alongside not only the youth, but their parents, as well as to break generational curses, create healthier relationships at home with their parents, and maintain a structured and stable home for the whole family. And you can find Shawn on Instagram at A Dreamer's Ambition and learn more on his website, parentreset.com. So that's www.parentreset.com.
Or .net, but
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow, someone wrote a really big comment. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So why don't people go out work rather than look at other people that have worked their guts out where they got stop comparing? This is a very this is a very like broken up comment. Um, okay, we'll leave that be. Anyway, are you excited to be here?
I am. I'm super excited. I need to like just have you just walk around with that intro for me. Like
Yeah.
it'd be amazing.
Wow, we have an interesting comment already, but we'll get to that later, and you can read that later yourself.
Okay.
But what I want to say is, firstly, I want to ask you how young are you?
I like how you said that to make me feel better about myself. But I'm 34.
34. That's quite young. I'm 28 going on 29,
Oh, see,
but
you're
I
you're a
still
baby.
feel like I'm 2021. You see this energy? No. Anyway, so I want to ask you, what made you start your brand? Like, how did all this come about? When was that?
Man. So it started in 2014. 2014. So prior to that, I was working with the youth and things like that. But 2014 is when it really hit home for me because I worked in, for those that know, in California is a city called San Bernardino, one of the worst places to be at. I think it's like, last time I checked, at least I think in California, I want to say it's ranked number 7 or 8 in murders, right? So
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. So
Did you live there by choice, Shawn?
I worked there by choice. I didn't live there.
Oh, okay.
I didn't live there, but yeah, I worked and I loved it. Like I loved it because I was
Oh.
done with the kids, and that's just where my heart is.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times the kids were hurting. To be honest, they were hurting. They were dropping out of school. Literally, one of the students, she was taking care of her siblings when she got home, so she could never do her homework because her mom was a drunk and her dad was on meth. So
Yeah.
she was constantly just stressing out. And I would try, and that was the crazy part, right? Because I knew her story. I knew a lot of the kids' stories. And I would try to tell the teachers and the principals and things like that, but they wasn't trying to hear it, which was upsetting. But from that point on, that's when A Dreamer's Ambition started. I remember I asked the kids. The kids actually came up with the name. I said,
Wow.
what is something, that really would gravitate to you guys?" And I did like a little, what do you call it, like a little contest and everything for them. Like, hey, I'll give you like $10, whoever can get come up with a great name. So they're like, Dreamer's Ambition.
Wow.
I was like, what? I like that. I like that. And so that was 2014. That's when it first started. And so basically fast forward, because at this time I started to speak a little bit at schools. I was focused more so on the clothing side, though. That's the crazy part. I was focusing on the clothing side for maybe 2-3 years. And then 2017, I remember one of the students asked me, "Hey, do you have a course to help me? Because I'm really struggling right now."
Wow.
I said, "I've never," right. And so to me, I was like, that's God, because I'm like,
That's
I've never
God.
said anything about a course. So I was like, I'll get back to you on that, right?
Wow. And
And
how old
so
was the student? Do you know?
they turned 18. They just turned
Wow.
18. Yeah. They were like, "I'm struggling right now with life and everything going on." So
Wow.
2017. So then 20 from that point on, from 2017 to 2018, I mapped it all out. I literally came up with a course. Right.
Wow.
I came up with a course, and I actually was doing it. I had like the students coming in and literally having a class and all that. And I was very fortunate and blessed because my church at the time was letting me use one of their buildings.
Wow.
They had a separate building, and I was like, "Hey, this is what I want to do. Can I use this building?" They're like, "Yeah, of course." Right. And so that was such a blessing and amazing thing. So I did that 2018, in part 2019, and then I was going to work with the schools. I was partnering up with the schools. I was getting ready to partner up with the schools. And then a couple things happened, right? Besides COVID, right? The first thing was because I also do one-on-one coaching as well. So one of my clients, he's actually 17 now. I've been working with him since he's 15.
Wow.
Right. And so he told me, he was like, "Man, Shawn, it'd be great if like the things you're giving, the tools you're giving, I wish my parents had this." Right. I wish my parents was able to really understand this. And that's when it dawned on me. I said, you know what? My goal is to help the next generation. And for me to help the next generation, I have to focus on the parents. Right? Because we set the foundation as parents. So it trickles down. Right. So a lot of times if we're, for example, if we're kind of have a lot of anxiousness or anxiety when it comes to making certain moves or risk, right? And we're scared of that, we're going to maybe put down our kids and not realize it, right? Well, are you sure you want to do that? But it's more so because maybe something internally that we never did, right? And so just little small things like that, or our own insecurities, right? Our own insecurities start bleeding out on our kids, and we don't mean to, right? Are you sure you want to wear that? But it's because maybe you don't feel comfortable wearing those things. Right. And so that's when it dawned on me, like, okay, you know what? That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I was like, I want to do both, but that's what I want to do. Then 2020 happened, right? COVID, right? COVID came and just I was like, oh my gosh, I messed up everything I was trying to do because, like I said, I was going to work with the schools, had stuff with the parents, and then the great thing with technology, right? We could do everything online now. And so 2020, I just that whole year I was just figuring out different things. I dropped my podcast at that time. I what else? I finished the course, and I was actually doing other podcasts for other people as well. Right. So that was a busy year for me. So I took it as, because I looked at it like this: everyone in 2020 was, let's be honest, they were stuck in the house, they were sad, I don't really know what to do, right? Basically, I heard this a lot. At least personally, I heard like it's a wasted year. Like, this is a wasted year. I said, I'm not going to make this year a wasted year, right? I'm going to make it something where when 2021 comes, I'm good to go, right? And so 2021 came. I launched my course for the parents, and it went really well. I'm actually relaunching again. That's why I definitely, if you go to parentreset.net, you can look into the course as well. But yeah, I did that and haven't looked back. Yeah, it's like I said, it's been crazy. It's been, yeah, like I feel like my life personally, um, God has really told me I can't play it safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, you can't play it safe at all. If you really want the things you want, you have to live a little bit dangerous. Not dangerous like, oh, okay, I'm gonna jump off a building. Nothing crazy like that, right? But you have to get out your comfort zone,
Mm.
right? You have to get out your comfort zone to really see things move. And so for me, and I thank God for that, having such a supporting family and wife like that. When there was times, because everyone thinks entrepreneurship is so easy. Oh yeah, you can.
Mm-mm.
No, right?
It
And
is
it's
so hard. It
so
makes you
hard.
cry.
Yeah, right. And so many times where I'm like, you know what? I can just get a 9 to 5. And again, nothing's wrong with a 9 to 5. But for me, I know that's not what God has called me to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have someone that supports you, and I'm like, oh, I can get a 9 to 5, and they're telling me no, like, don't do that, right? Especially as men, we think, okay, no, I'm defined as I'm I'm a man because I can provide, and it has to be strictly by money. But that's not true at all. But a lot of times we tell ourselves those lies, like, okay, you know what, I have to it for me to be quote unquote the leader of the household, it has to look like this. That's not necessarily true. And that's honestly, that's not even a generational cycle. I feel like that's just years of just lies that we've told ourselves as men, right? Because most men I know, they operate in that, and it's hard to kind of get out of that to understand. Hey, you know what? If it's to benefit you and your family, and you have to take a step back, that's okay. If you want to go back to school, that's okay, right? But again, I at least for me personally, I know a lot of guys that working like crazy amount of hours, hate what they're doing, breaking their back, and I'm like, hey, why don't you do something else or do this? And they're like, oh, I can't. Well, why can't you? I just can't, man. And I'll literally help them break down the numbers if they did something else, and they still would be fine, right? But mentally, it's a roadblock for them. Like, oh, I'm weak, right? I'm weak. If yeah, I know this warehouse job is killing my back, right? I know my body's breaking down, but I can't complain. I'm a man, right? And so yeah, I know I just went on a long.
No, you're good. It's true. No one has come on here and talked about the men's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those gender roles.
Yeah, yeah. So that definitely can be a tricky thing because, like I said, I've battled with that a few times, and I'm just very blessed and fortunate because I know most men don't have a lot of support that I think they should. Because when I share my stories with them, they look at me like, "Wait, what? That your wife did? Your family? So I'm thankful for that. I'm so thankful for that. But
people want to know where to get your shirts, Shawn.
Oh,
on
my
your
shirt.
Instagram?
Yeah. Because like I said, right now, because I've been so busy, I haven't. But yeah, hit me on Instagram, message me. I will make sure I send it out to you.
A dreamer's ambition.
Yeah, Dreamer's Ambition. Go to
On
Instagram,
Instagram.
and I'll get one.
The information is above in this bar right here for
Yeah.
whoever's asking.
Yeah, not the parent reset one, unless you want to sign up for the course. That's great.
But check it out. Read his story. Hey.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, regarding generational curses, because this is a question that comes up for me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's like a complex question, but let me know your thoughts.
Okay.
Do you feel that it's our responsibility, well, I guess our generation, 20s, like people now like you and I, to put a stop to these generational curses? Can I even say it? So I don't know regarding the brain and regarding the psychology behind generational curses. Like, I have not done any research studies on it. And just from your knowledge, do you feel like it's something that can be stopped with our generation, or is it something that's genetic and would be passed on to kids? Or, and also the pressure it can put on, because there was a time where I was like, that's like, there was a moment where I felt like pressure, like I have, like, since I'm the black sheep doing the work that I do with Chai Together, that I have this responsibility that, the trauma ends with me, the psychosis, all the diseases in my family have to end with me. But do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, that pressure, like, why should I carry the burden of generations, if it's going to overwhelm me in that sense as well? So it's kind of like two-parted. It's like, someone had shared with me, a friend of mine, he said that he believes it can, by the actions that you take and things. But then I feel like there's a whole neurological aspect regarding brain and stuff, which I haven't
Mhm.
learned about yet. That who knows? I feel like it could just be beyond us, you know? So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depending on what it is, right? So, for
Right?
example, like depression, let's say that one,
Yeah.
right? That is genetic. That could be genetic, right? And so with something like that, that can be tricky, right? But you have to also be okay and be able to accept that. Okay, you know what? This is something that I struggle with, my mom struggled with, and you literally need to see a professional,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
again, that is one of those things where that could be a cycle in this a generational cycle in itself, where hey, my whole family deals with depression, but also not just that, but the cycle is also that we're too prideful to actually get professional help,
Mm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
no, like that's for crazy people, especially in the black community. You hear that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's for crazy people. Like see a counselor, no, right? And to answer what you said as far as like in a way like oh man that sucks like why I have to be the one
Right?
like why did it fall on me,
Yeah. I'm
right?
like, why? Like, yeah, for real.
Um, and I would say this the which is understandable, but look at it like this: the way that you might be thinking is the reason why
Mm-hmm.
those sites continue,
Mm. So
right?
smart. Yeah.
Because everyone is saying the same thing. Well, why I got to be the one?
I gotta do it.
No, I'll have them do it, right? And so for me, right, and I tell parents this too, is at the end of the day, don't you set the foundation. So don't you want to set your kids and your grandkids up? Because at the end of the day, they're going to pass it down,
Mm.
right? And so for me, I'm very passionate about it. So I'm constantly giving affirmation to my kids. Why? Because at times I feel like I didn't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to make sure, like I was the shy kid. I was like, oh, I'm not a cute kid, right? I had all these negative thoughts. So literally, my kids are. I'll be honest, they're probably borderline cocky right now, and that's okay. Like I'm fine with that. Like they're little, right? So that's fine, right? So I think it was one time recently. Um, this kid told my son he was being mean or something. He called him ugly. And then I asked him, I said, oh, he was being mean to you. Are you okay? Like, how you feel about that? He's like, oh, I'm fine, Dad. I said, oh, what about, he called you ugly. Like, how you feel about that, son? He looked at me, he said, Dad, I know I'm not ugly. So it doesn't matter. I was like, okay. Right. But he's been hearing this, right? He's 6 now. He's been hearing this since he was like 2. Right. And so I'm constantly just pouring into him because I'm like, this world is going to tear you down. So I want to make sure that I put as much armor as I can, right,
Mm.
to be able to handle all the nonsense that's going to be thrown your way. But I just say that as far as if you really, for example, if you want to have a family one day,
Mm.
and you want to have kids, at the end of the day, I'm sure you don't want your kids to have to deal with the nonsense that you dealt with,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's why I personally feel like it's so important for us to address it. Now, the problem is, though, pride gets in the way, right? Or we have to actually change the way we believe in certain aspects. And that's scary. That's scary to literally say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be open to undoing everything I was taught by my parents. That wasn't necessarily the best way to go about things. That's scary because a lot of times we parent the way that our parents parent us, right? Or we do the opposite because we're like, they were such terrible parents.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, they used to whoop me every day, so I will never whoop my child. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to yell at them. Hey, Johnny, please. I know you're upset, please, right? But you're doing that because you're like, oh my gosh, like I was always yelled at, right? And it made me feel terrible. So I'm never going to raise my voice. Instead of understanding and saying, okay, you know what? At times I might have to raise my voice,
Mm.
so yeah.
Maya loves your concept with your children.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So tell me more about your background. How did you come about to have this mindset? What kind of parents did you have? What kind of upbringing? Do you have traumas and all of that?
So it's not even, it's not trauma. It's just very unique, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
was like the black sheep myself. Um, so my parents weren't actually together.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she got married and things like that. So I do have a lot of siblings and things of that nature. But growing up, honestly, I always felt like the black sheep because my sister was like, she couldn't do nothing wrong, basically. I felt like she couldn't do anything wrong at all, right? And so it was frustrating. Like literally, I remember I would get spankings, I would get yelled at for what she did, right? It was terrible, right? Um, and to the point, and again, as I got older, I understood. Like to this day, you know, and I love my mom, but there's certain underlying things that she still hasn't been able to uncover, right? And that's difficult, right? Like that's another difficult thing to be able to talk to your parents about certain situation is so difficult, right? Because in their mind, I mean, let's be honest, especially our parents' generation, it's hard for them to admit when they're wrong, right? And so that can be a difficult conversation. But yeah, growing up, and my dad, as far as my dad, I didn't see him like that. To be honest, I didn't see him. I saw him part time. Some of it I feel like was his fault, and some I don't know. It's one of those things though. For me as a parent, I'm not letting anyone or anything stop me, right? And so I mean, to this day, you know, I forgive him. We're okay. We're better now. But that was another thing where my brother, I love my brother. He was like he still is an amazing athlete, like super special athlete. And I used to feel, I'll be honest, jealous because I'm like, man, this dude is so talented. You know, he's so talented. And I remember my dad would constantly be pouring into him, right? And I'm like, man. And I remember I didn't want to do like, because I was on track team. I was pretty good, but I didn't want to do track because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's not going to be good enough, right? But overall, you know, I feel like I didn't have the worst situation or anything like that. You know, both parents did what they thought was best at the time. But yeah, it was like I said, it was more so for me, especially at a young age, not really understanding my worth, and constantly being self-conscious, constantly feeling insecure, not feeling valued, and that's why it's so important for me to do that with my kids, right? Constantly pouring into, because in general, like people need that. We need to be poured into. You can't always be pouring your cup, because if you're the one pouring your cup, you have nothing left. If it's empty, what can you do, right? So yeah, so that's basically. I moved a lot too. So I met a lot of friends. I moved all over the Inland Empire. That's in California, but yeah, so I moved a lot, and yeah, I guess that's the gist of it. I just, you know, I get. Oh, and that's one thing though. My mom did always say, which is crazy. She told me this at a young age, because kids would gravitate towards me. People would gravitate towards me, like older people. She was like, man, you know what? Like, for whatever reason, the younger generation, they really just gravitate towards you. And then the older, like, for whatever reason, the older generation, they listen to you. And like, I remember and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess, like, okay, mom, whatever, you know? And so it's crazy now, right? Fast forward years later. And that's literally what I'm doing. Like, I'm working with the youth. I'm also working with parents. You know, I'm working with families, which is awesome. Like, to me, I'm so fortunate and blessed because I get to work with families and help them heal in certain areas, or help them accomplish certain dreams that they thought wasn't possible. You know, so for me, it's amazing. But again, went on the rant. but
no,
but
it's
yeah,
okay. So would you call yourself like an old soul? Do you believe in that?
Yeah, I'm for sure old soul.
Yeah, I could tell. No, like you have that an aura, and you know, I have learned through Sadhguru. Do you know Sadhguru?
No.
You look into him, and
Okay.
where he says, you know, aura is something that isn't transmitted into the physical form yet. It's kind of just, you know, the essence.
Okay.
And like, you know, when people say I like your aura,
Yeah.
you know, like the vibe, but aura is really something that's just not in the physical form yet that you can obviously gravitate towards. So interesting. It's so interesting because my background is in youth as well, and I may be working with youth again, but I have an education background. I'm working with children my whole life, for I don't know, I'm 28, so maybe like 10 years. But you know, in our culture, raising children, as I'm a child myself, you know, so hey, could that count on my resume? So interesting. So I want to know more about your course. Like,
Okay.
uh, tell me like any details you can about the course. Like, how many weeks is it? Like, how does it go?
So it's a 6-week course.
Mm-hmm.
And because obviously parents, if you guys are like me, your life is hectic.
Mm-hmm.
So so it's a module for each week
Mm-hmm.
that drops, and then like for example, it'll drop on Monday, and then on Wednesday, because I do coaching, but it's basically a chance for the parents to get me as one-on-one almost in a way, but in a group
Mm-hmm.
setting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a huge meet, or not a huge, depending on what's going on, but a meeting of me and the parents, and we dive into the module even more, and then I
Mm-hmm.
can answer any questions. Or honestly, it's been a lot of great breakthroughs. Like to me, that's probably my favorite part of the course, because I've seen so many breakthroughs. I've seen like parents breaking down, in a good way, not because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm a terrible parent, but because like they're really understanding their value as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a 6-week course. Um, and well, oh, it also comes with some handouts. So I have some handouts that's basically questions to really challenge you as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that's important too. There's certain questions we never really ask ourselves, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
as parents we should. But yeah, that's oh, and it dropped. I guess I could say that too. It drops November 8th, so next Monday. That's when it
Mm-hmm.
launches. It launches November 8th, and yeah, I'm excited about it. Of course, yeah,
Sean, I want you to increase your price because I saw the price of that course. Get the
I
hell out
know,
of here,
I
okay?
know, I know. Look, that's a look. That's
Okay.
no look. That's why I tell
You
people.
are
I'm
too
like,
kind.
I man, trust me. I already know, because people have told me like this course is worth way more. I'm like, you're right. But
Mhm.
again, right, and that's something I'm working on, because
Yes.
I've never been
It
that
takes
type.
time.
Yes, I've never been the type to be like, you know, um, I'm all about money, right?
Mhm.
Of course, we need money. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, but
Yeah.
I really want to change people's lives and help them. So I'm
Mhm.
like, hey, so I keep telling them, hey, right now this is the price. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's going to change, but right
Mm.
now this is the price. But yeah, yeah, you're not the first person to tell me this. There's been a few people getting on me like,
Yeah.
you need to change the price. So
Yeah. At least up another 100.
yeah, that's man. You sound like one of my coaches. Yeah, they
I
got
am
it.
a coach.
Oh, so you're like, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to point any fingers. It was so great talking with you. It's it's so cool. It's so cool. So for a dreamer's ambition,
Mhm.
do you feel like, I don't know, I just have this visual right now. I see you with like your own school and like kids coming at you, or like some kind of academy. Like, do you see a physical place for it?
I would love that. I would love
Yeah.
it for sure. That's
They can make a
it's
documentary on you for
yeah.
real.
Well, there's so many different things I want to do. Like it's
Mhm.
ridiculous, but it's one step at a time. Because
Mhm.
eventually, I want to get to the point where literally I'm doing raffles, or I'm just randomly going to schools and paying for kids' books
Wow.
at colleges. Right. That's what
Mhm.
I've been praying for. That's what I've been speaking on. So um, that is it's so many different things I want to do.
Oh,
Um,
thanks, Maya.
yeah, and then now I think about it too. So a dreamer's ambition is what started it, and then I basically created no perfect parent. So that's where this course and all that came from.
Wow.
So because so it's crazy, because like as parents, right, we really aim for perfection, and then we drive ourselves crazy for it, right?
Mm.
And then we feel bad as well, right? So, oh man, you know what? I'm a parent, so I want to go back to school, but I can't, or I shouldn't. Or I want to pursue
Mhm.
this, but I can't, I shouldn't, because of whatever society has told us, right? Um, but again, that's not what so many people have told me in the past, like, what are you doing? Like, that's not, you're 30 years old. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that, right? You have a family,
Jeez.
right? And so that's why it's so important to have such a strong support system as well, right? To be to have the vision, the same vision as you, because if not, that's where
Mhm.
it gets difficult,
And you're doing great work. More people need to do this kind of work, especially for parents. Let me tell you this. Oh my God. Especially when I was doing my CDA and education degree and we had our own family daycare and different things. I used to help run the whole daycare. And just to say that I feel like each parent should have a mandatory parent course before they become a parent, like seriously, on all the things you're talking about here, right? To not project their insecurities and stuff onto other people. I've been saying this for years that people are just to be transparent, popping out children without thinking about it. Most people don't even think about it. It just happened. Like, as in a society, now we accept it. And it's like, no, it doesn't need to be that way. You can put more thought into whether you want to have a child or not.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. There needs to be more work in that area. There's so many parents who don't know how to be parents. Okay. If I see you mistreating your kid in the aisles and stuff, that just reminds me. So I personally, Shawn, I don't want to have kids. So that just reminds me of that. Yeah. Like, that's not, I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah, I'm just not.
Like, I went to the park and I saw a woman. She was just like, all right. And her toddler's in the, oh my God, I don't even know the word. The stroller. And she's going, she said, all right. And then the last time she said, all right, she's like, all right. Like, for the third time, she had no peace of mind at the park. I'm over here like child free. And I'm just like, I'm enjoying my day. Like, but I love kids. Like, I love kids and I want to work with kids. I'm going to be working with kids in my career as well.
Yeah.
However, I feel like that'll nourish me for that. Like, I won't have kids at home, but I'll work with them. So do you have any last words? You're dying.
I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, follow Dreamers Ambition on Instagram. I have even though I haven't did season 2 yet because I don't know how I want to do that, but go to my bio, my podcast where I interviewed literally from 12-year-olds to I think 21-year-olds. Right. And that was fun. Like, and we talked about different subjects and stuff. So check that out. It's on YouTube. It's on the podcast. And then for the parents out there, join the No Perfect Parent Facebook group as well. And and I'm just, thankful for you to have me on. And
you're doing great work.
Yeah.
Next time we need to know more about the podcast and the group.
Oh yeah.
But that's great.
Yeah.
I had one teenager on and that was it. But I also love just interviewing all ages, Yeah. So cool. But thank you for your time. You look like you're tired dad now.
I'm always a tired dad, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I have a bunch of kids, so what can I...
Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
All right.